Hello and welcome to No Spin. I'm Nidhi Razdan. Rajasthan's Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot has emerged as the front runner to become the next Congress president. But he still says Rahul Gandhi should be convinced to take the top job. Rahul Gandhi, though, is clearly not interested, and Digvijay Singh admitted as much this week when he said that Rahul cannot be forced to become the Congress chief. The party has today announced that a date for the Congress president's election will be decided at a meeting this Sunday. Mr. Gehlot would be an interesting choice. He's an OBC leader from the Hindi heartland and someone the Gandhis trust. And remember, the BJP is aggressively wooing the OBC vote ahead of the next general election. However, the Congress is still in a dilemma because on one hand, many believe there will be more factionalism if a non-Gandhi becomes president, while others worry that Rahul Gandhi's leadership isn't really taking them anywhere. The party is also now preparing for its grand Bharat Jodo Yatra from the 7th of September across 12 states and 2 union territories, where it's also roped in civil society members. Will that make an impact in the way the Congress heads into the next election? Joining us first on the program tonight, former Union Minister and Senior Congress leader Mr. Salman Khurshid, who's with us. We have Khushbu Sundar, Senior BJP leader and former member of the Congress Party. Rashid Kidwai, Senior journalist and author, is joining us. Hindal Sen Gupta, columnist, author and historian, and Sanjay Jha. But Mr. Salman Khurshid, to you first. Ashok Gehlot, many believe, would be a good choice as Congress president. What do you think?
Well, look, these are whispers and conversations within the confines of the party. There is still a continuing hope that we will persuade Mr. Rahul Gandhi to be president. So we don't want to discuss this out in the open. Let us just see how things proceed. It's still some time away. The actual dates are to be firmed up on Sunday, as you've just announced. We will see how things proceed. Now, I don't think it's fair either to embarrass somebody by saying, why don't you be the president? Or to continue harping on that we know what is to be done and we will do it. Let's just leave this alone for us within the party to work on. Very clear that the party view, and Mr. Ashok Gehlot himself has said it, the party view is that somehow we need to persuade Mr. Rahul Gandhi, and I think that effort will continue.
Why? When he doesn't want to do it, why do you have to persuade him to do it? Mr. Digvijay Singh stuck his neck out yesterday and said he can't be forced to become Congress president. So clearly there's a section of the party that has come to terms with the fact that he doesn't want this job. Why do you want to persuade him to do something he doesn't want to do?
It's very difficult to have a carefully worded response to many questions that you ask. A word this way, a word that way can go off track completely, and that's why we think it's not really in the best of things to be able to continue talking about this issue. We are within the party. We are of course continuing to think about this. Now, when you ask me that question, that, if he doesn't want to, why do you insist, etc., etc. But, he doesn't want to is something that can have a variety of reasons. And we may be able to address some reasons, we may not be able to address some reasons. But we want to give it a try. And to be asked as to why are you trying itself, I think, is an unfair question.
But you don't think that the Congress could actually use this opportunity to take a chance on a non-Gandhi as Congress president and see where that takes you? If you don't try something drastic now, when will you?
Well, we are not, you don't experiment with your party that is an institution to which you belong, as you do belong to a system, as you belong to a structure. You don't want to experiment with it all the time. If it becomes absolutely important and it becomes inevitable for you to take some steps which are out of the box, etc., then obviously time will force you to do it, time will persuade you to do it. But I don't think that we should jump to that conclusion. Just experimenting for the sake of experimenting or pursuing a script that somebody else believes is the right democratic script is not what we feel comfortable with. We have a democratic script of our own. We want to pursue it, and we do believe that if there are any pitfalls or if there are any hiccups, we need to do something to get around them.
Well, let me ask Khushbu, who was in your party actually and ended up leaving it, that wouldn't the BJP actually be happy, Khushbu, if Rahul Gandhi was persuaded to stay on as Congress president? It sort of gives ammunition to you guys on the whole dynasty argument, family argument, etc.
It's not about dynasty argument alone. I think it's basically, here is a man who does not want to be the president, who does not want to take up the responsibilities, does not want to face the failures, does not want to be held responsible for the failures, yet the party is keen on making him the president. How can you make someone who is not ready to take up the responsibilities of the party, how can you hand over the reins of the party to him? How can you expect him to rule the country or to run the country? I mean, it's absolutely disgracing to see how the Congress still persuades the Gandhis, or especially Mr. Rahul Gandhi, to take over as the president when he's not at all interested in doing it. So it's not about helping BJP. BJP is going to win any which ways. It's just that they are showing their lack of confidence in others, or I would say that they are still looking at something called dynasty politics. It's like, Angrez to chale gaye, lekin dynasty dimag piche chhod gaye.
Well, Mr. Salman Khurshid, do you want to respond to that before I open this up to the rest of the panel? Because Khushbu has a point. Doesn't this strengthen the image of Rahul Gandhi being a reluctant leader? He already carries that tag. It's weighing on him. And now when it looks like the Congress is saying that, no, we must persuade him, we must convince him, it only adds to that.
Someone who's leading a historical yatra. I mean, this kind of yatra has never been done in this country. Absolutely, the size, the scale of this yatra has never been done. And whose idea is it and who's leading it? Mr. Rahul Gandhi. And we still continue to use the word reluctant for him. Where is the reluctance? He's taking it head on, isn't he? And now if he's taking it head on, should we not at least say, make this into a larger profile? That be the president of our party as well. You're young and you have a footprint that is enormous. Please be our president. Don't we have a right to say this to someone that we like? We don't have the right. It may not fit in with the scheme of things for other people. We respect what they think, but they're not in our party. So I'm not going to run my party and be in my party according to wishes of people outside the party. I respect their wishes. I will certainly pay heed to their wishes if they meet my requirements. But just that's about it, nothing more.
Well, in this case, the BJP's wishes might actually converge with yours. But Sanjay Jha, let me ask you, you've been a Congress spokesperson, you've been very critical of the way the party has handled things, and yet you still believe that it is the only party that can really take on the BJP if it gets its act together. If Mr. Ashok Gehlot was the choice, would you think that he would be a good choice?
My short answer to that will be yes. I believe that the Congress party has to battle two dichotomies, Nidhi. Number one, I understand where Mr. Khurshid is coming from. The Congress cannot do without the Gandhis is a fait accompli. It's a fact. I understand the predicament of Mr. Khurshid on this issue and other congressmen. The second reality, and that's a dichotomy which is a problem for the Congress, is that the country seems to have moved on beyond the Gandhis. Now, let me tell you this. I disagree with my friend Khushbu when she says Modi and the BJP is going to win 2024. Trust me, there are no guarantees, no assurances. Because I believe this has been one of the most incompetent, communal, corrupt governments in India's parliamentary history. But the reason why in a country of 140 crore, despite the COVID disaster and multiple failures, democratic institutions, the whole climate of hate, when people say there is no alternative to Modi, I'm like, what's going on in this country? And that's the reason why I have actually rebelled within the Congress to say you have given it on a golden platter to the BJP, which is why you'll find the BJP is the most arrogant party in the country. And the way to sort that out, if the Congress has to take the tough call to say, listen, we like Rahul, and Rahul is a very nice guy. I think Priyanka, I would have believed the Priyanka pilot combination would be the best for the party, but I don't think the party will probably do it. But then it's a good time if the Gandhis take a back seat. You rather have a non-Gandhi there, but get this whole argument of the fact that it's become a private fiefdom out of the way. If Mr. Gehlot becomes the president or any other person, Sachin Pilot becomes the president, Shashi Tharoor becomes the president, I believe the Congress will get a tailwind, because you just get out of this whole, rigmarole of being continuously told by people that you have now degenerated into one little caucus or cabal. And the truth is the Gandhis have political capital. So, everybody cannot be a captain in a team. So Rahul can still lead the Bharat Jodo Yatra. I completely agree with Salmania that he can lead the whole campaign. He can be the model crusader, take on the RSS, do everything you like, but let the team win. And I think whether it's Mr. Gehlot, Sachin, Mukul Vasnik, whoever, it will help the Congress reinvent itself.
Well, what would be interesting, Rashid Kidwai, about Mr. Gehlot as a choice is the fact that A, he's a very experienced leader, he's led the party from the front, he has won elections, he's an OBC leader from the Hindi heartland. These are all the boxes, the right boxes that he ticks at a time when the BJP too is making a very strong pitch for the OBC vote.
Yes, Nidhi, but I'm not too sure whether, that would happen in the sense that, we are back to that May 25, 2019 situation when Mr. Rahul Gandhi had resigned. And I think here he needs to be given some credit for sticking to his position. And while the Congress and many people in the media and commentators and all have moved on, what did he say when he resigned? He had said that he would want the Congress to elect its new leader, and he would not want his mother or his sister to be participant in that kind of selection of a new party president. And so many years have passed, after 3.5 years, he is sticking to that position. That looks like the case. Now it is for the Congress party to elect a leader. The problem with the Congress party is that it doesn't want to exercise that kind of democratic right, and the political conditions have also not been like that. This is a problem. Mr. Khurshid, who knows a lot and can say a lot, has, he's always he likes to speak within the four walls of party discipline. Otherwise, we would have had, far more candid pronouncements from him.
Well, certainly, and Mr. Khurshid at least has been candid enough to say that if I slip a word here or there, I could actually be in trouble. But Mr. Khurshid, do you want to take on that point that Mr. Kidwai made? And also the fact that now you have senior colleagues in your party, like for example, Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad, Mr. Anand Sharma, who have really spoken out. Mr. Azad hasn't explicitly said so, but Anand Sharma has, about not being invited for poll meetings, not being involved in poll meetings, and suddenly, they have their names announced in some poll committee, which means that even basic homework isn't being done, before these announcements are made. That crisis is not going away. This internal rumbling in the party isn't going away, is my point.
Well, when a party is in difficult times, these things happen. They don't happen when you are ruling the roost and everything is glorious for you and everything is beautiful. It doesn't happen. It happens when things are tough. Some people can't take the pressure. Some people can take the pressure. I don't want to run foul of people who've been friends for a very, very long time. They feel restless. Some felt restless and left the party. They feel restless. I think they should talk to us. I see no reason why we can't talk. It isn't that they are some exclusive, heavenly kind of figures who only talk amongst themselves, whether it's something positive about the party or it's something that they are feeling uncomfortable about. Why don't we have discussions within the party with them? I mean, they may have a legitimate complaint or a grouse. Let's put it. We will put it away. We will make sure that there is some solution. I may have a grouse. Are you telling me that I was born grouseless and Anand Sharma and Ghulam Nabi Azad had any number of...
Mr. Khurshid, today you have Jayavir Shergill, a young Congress spokesperson who's quit the party, saying he's been trying to meet the Gandhi family for a year with his grouses and nobody has given him the time of day.
There are lots of things that can be said. But why are you only interested in those who are leaving? Why are you not asking questions of those who are not leaving? We are staying here.
I'm asking you.
I am staying. Ask me why am I staying? Staying.
But why should why are your talented people leaving? Isn't that a question that bothers you?
Listen, I could have left the party because of them in the past. I didn't, and they should now be leaving because of somebody else. This is a party when sometimes, in every party, sometimes you have it good, sometimes you don't have it that good. There are highs and there are lows, but you are there for the good times and the bad times, if you believe in the party's fundamental ideology. Now, if we can stay here and we can be happy, why can't they be equally happy? They've all done very well. People who are leaving the party are not people who've been ignored for 20 years. People who have left the party or have expressed their disquiet about the party are those who've had the best from the party for over 20 to 30 years. Now, if they are feeling something is lacking, why don't we have
so
the
Khushbu, did you leave despite being treated, I mean, put on a pedestal? Why did you go? Khushbu.
I left because there's nothing left in the party. You have a leader who is not ready to take up the responsibilities. You have a leader who does not want to listen to anybody else's ideas. There's a leader who has his ears only to certain people who are surrounding him, the 5 members, what he has around him. He doesn't want to listen to the reality. He's not ready to take the reality when you say this is not happening, when you tell Mr. Rahul Gandhi that this is fundamentally is not going to work, and this is the fundamental problem of the party. He's not ready to accept it because he's surrounded by people who are always trying to give him a different story altogether. And with all due respect to Salman Khurshid Saab, I know he even understands that these are the problems within the party. How long are you going to avoid, or how long are you going to live in denial that this is what is happening? And that is why I think what you're talking about, the Padyatra today, Khurshid Saab, rather than saying Bharat Jodo Yatra, I would say with the amount of people leaving Congress, it should be Congress Chodo Yatra. That is how it should be said. All the people, the trusted aides, the trusted ministers, the trusted people who have, like you said, I was not there in Congress for 20 years, but then there are people who have been absolutely frustrated for over 20 years. They feel the pinch, they feel the pain, which the others refuse to look at, even acknowledge it. I think it should be Congress Chodo Yatra and not Bharat Jodo Yatra.
But Sanjay Jha, you wanted to come in on this, and let me ask you about this Yatra. What do you think of it as a political move? Because it is a political move and there's nothing wrong with that. But do you think it would have a resonance or not?
In my opinion, Nidhi, this is one of the most astute, smart steps the Congress is taking after kind of sleepwalking or becoming a Rip Van Winkle for too long. I congratulate the Congress for stepping out. I believe the time has come when people need to call the bluff of the Bharatiya Janata Party. I'm sorry, Khushbu, but you have created an economic catastrophe. You have socially fractured the country, and you have destroyed India's institutions which stand emasculated. And I do believe the Congress party ought to be fighting on the front foot. So, to answer your question, Nidhi, the Congress needs to seize the narrative. I like the term Bharat Jodo because the BJP is playing the game of divided rule, is become brazen, is blatant. And let me be very honest with you. I find it appalling that Teesta Setalvad is in jail, and the rapists who didn't kill, the rapists of Bilkis Banu are out today free, no matter what the legal remission policy, etc. they're talking about. So I believe these are the ironies of our time. And the grand old party has a history. I understand the pain of Congressman Nidhi, because the issue here is, and I would request every congressman watching your program, focus on what should be your principal target. And your principal target is the BJP. Get your house in order and fight. But the Congress, and this is something that I would love to ask Mr. Khurshid that, because this is why I got suspended by the party. I, for one, can't believe that the Congress loses 2014. It gets wiped out. 2019, you're destroyed all over again. And you take 3 years to elect a leader. And you've got a general election looming in 2 years.
Correct.
And everywhere I meet people, they tell me that if BJP wins 2024, India will never be the same again. And Mr. Khurshid needs to understand the pain and the anguish of, forget Jaivir and me and Manish Tiwari. You got to understand the pain of people that you don't know. And there are millions of people
Manish
who voted
Tiwari
for the
next? Salman Khurshid,
no,
you want
I'm
to take
just
that?
mentioning that in passing.
Yeah.
Let me just say this to make the record clear. We understand at least I understand your pain. And I also appreciate that despite your pain, you have some wonderful things to say for the Congress, which is not one hears from people who decide to cut off from the Congress. Then everything is bad. But you've certainly pinpointed a few things that you believe are good and hopeful. Thank you very much for that. But about the disquiet, about the pain, about the distress, yes, it is there. It is there. We need to address it, and we will. Within the party, we will. And we will address it without actually getting into this debate. Why are you following a leader that you shouldn't be following? That's my choice. It's the leader that I like. It's the leader that I have invested in. It's the leader that I have faith in. Let me try to see what I can do with that leader. Why should people decide for me and say, well, we are laying it out for you that you can't be with this leader, you find another leader? I don't think that's fair. It's just not fair.
Well, when the leader himself said that he doesn't want to do it, and he said it right after the last general election, I think that's the point. Khushbu, and then last word to Mr. Kidwai. Yes, Khushbu.
I think we need to understand it's not about Khurshid Saab's choice or people who are within the party saying that we want him as a leader. I think we need to understand the party you're looking at, the party you belong to. Congress, the grand old party of this country. It is about the country. You're not going to be serving yourself in the party. You're going to be serving the country, the nation. So this is where this man is not ready to take up the responsibility. And you look at the mood of the nation. And then, Sanjay, my friend, I'll come to you. If strong governance, if strong ideas, if any kind of a scheme which is going to take the country forward, strong, bold decisions taken by the Prime Minister, if it's going to hurt others where people who do not have the same thinking as him, but it's taking the country forward. It's making country as one strong country. We have seen back and again from 2014, 2019, and again 2024, the way BJP is going to win, where we have seen from 404 to just 52, the way the Congress has shrunk. You see Bharatiya Janata Party as one single largest democratic party in the world today. I think this is what it says. People have voted them to power. We haven't voted ourselves to power. The people of this nation have voted them to power. And I would like to tell Mr. Salman Khurshid Saab that people, if Mr. Rahul Gandhi is reluctant, let him go. Because the Congress is about, you are going to take the country forward. You're talking about, you're making promises about taking on with the country. You're not talking about with the Gandhis within the self. Congress is not a family, a Gandhi family where you run within yourself. It is about the nation. So you need to look beyond them, and you need to see who can take the country forward, and not somebody who is reluctant. I appreciate that you are so loyal and faithful to the Gandhi, especially Mr. Rahul Gandhi. I completely understand where this comes from. I completely understand. You have seen him for many years, literally growing up in front of your eyes and coming to that stature. But if Mr. Rahul Gandhi is reluctant, I think he should be allowed to go and choose somebody who can take the party forward to, if you are really interested in saying that Congress is for the nation, I think you need to let Mr. Rahul Gandhi go.
Last word to you, Mr. Rashid Kidwai. What do you think of the Bharat Jodo Yatra and the possible impact it can have?
I think it's a catch-22 situation. Political leadership of the Congress with the Gandhis. So if you have a non-Gandhi member, there are going to be a lot of functional problems. Second thing is about Bharat Jodo Yatra. I find it a little bizarre because what is the job of a political party? Job of a political party is to win election. That's a barometer. You can quantify how many seats Congress is going to win in Gujarat, how many seats Congress is going to win in Himachal. But how do you quantify a Yatra? And look at that map of the Yatra. It has only one, destination, Mr. Salman Khurshid's state of Uttar Pradesh, I think Bulandshahr. Bihar, it's got very little. So many states have been left out from that. What kind of electoral gains you're going to have after 125 days? This is something that the question that should be bothering the Congress party. Jawaharlal Nehru, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, they didn't go for Yatra. They didn't vote for Yatra. They fought elections, fought from the front, and mostly won. In some cases, they lost. That's the barometer of in parliamentary democracy.
Right. Well, some would say a political party should stand for more than just winning elections, but in this case, even that isn't happening. So let's see how this actually plays out. But a good point you made, Mr. Kidwai, that the route itself, is baffling with crucial states not part of it. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us on this program today. Thank you.